There is a very specific conversation happening in doctors' offices right now that most men over 50 are not having. It is not about medication, it is not about surgery, and it is not about anything your last checkup covered. It is about 6 daily behaviors that longevity researchers have now identified as the clearest predictors of whether a man over 50 maintains his strength, his sharpness, and his independence over the next 2 to 3 decades, or loses them quietly 1 year at a time. Before I go further, comment habits below right now and I will send you the complete reference card for all 6 habits, the specific numbers from the research, and the daily implementation guide. I will remind you again at the halfway point, lock it in now. Here's the structure of this video. We are counting down from 6 to 1. The first 3 habits are the ones most men have heard of but are doing wrong for their age. The last 3, specifically habits 2 and 1, are the ones that genuinely surprise men. Habit number 1 is something fewer than 15% of men over 50 practice consistently. And the research calls it the single most underutilized intervention for long-term male health available without a prescription. Stay with me through all 6. Habit number 6, strategic hydration, not casual drinking, strategic timing. Here's what most men get wrong about water after 50. They treat it the same way they did at 35. After 50, your body thirst signals become progressively less accurate. You stop feeling thirsty even when you are dehydrated, and your kidneys become less efficient at retaining the fluid you do consume. The result is chronic mild dehydration that most men never connect to their afternoon brain fog, their declining balance, or their joint pain. Think of your bloodstream like a river delivery system. When the river runs low, delivery trucks slow down, packages get lost, and the whole operation starts breaking down. That is exactly what chronic mild dehydration does to the body after 50. Silently and gradually enough that most men blame it on aging rather than on something they could fix in the next 48 hours. The specific rule for men over 50, 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning, before coffee, before anything else. Your body loses fluid overnight, and the overnight deficit after 50 is measurably higher than it was in your 30s. Pair that morning water with a small amount of quality sea salt or an electrolyte, because without sodium, plain water passes through your system without being fully absorbed at the cellular level where it is actually needed. Then a glass with every meal and 1 mid-afternoon. Simple, free. And most men are not doing it. Habit number 5, resistance training at least twice per week. I am not talking about going to a gym and lifting heavy weights. I am talking about any movement that asks your muscles to work against a force. A resistance band, a wall push-up, carrying groceries with intention. The distinction matters because of sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass that begins in your 30s and accelerates after 50 at a rate of 3 to 8% per decade. The research is unambiguous. A 12-week resistance training study specifically in men over 50 found that training groups showed significantly increased serum testosterone levels compared to control groups. A November 2025 Frontiers in Physiology paper confirmed resistance training with elastic bands in older adults produced significant reductions in blood glucose, insulin resistance, and body fat alongside increases in lean mass after 12 weeks. That is not just muscle. That is the insulin resistance mechanism from the sugar video reversing itself in response to physical demand. The mitochondria in your muscle cells regenerate more efficiently when resistance exercise is consistently present. 2 to 3 sessions per week, 20 to 30 minutes each, focusing on legs, hips, and back. And perform your session within 30 minutes of consuming 25 to 30 grams of protein. After 50, the window during which your muscles absorb protein for repair is shorter than it was in your 30s. Habit number 4, consistent, purposeful sleep. Not just more hours, but better architecture. After 50, your production of the hormones that drive deep restorative sleep declines measurably. Deep sleep is the phase during which testosterone is primarily secreted, and during which your brain clears the metabolic waste that accumulates during waking hours. Research has established a direct link between low testosterone and poor sleep quality in men over 50, with deep sleep phases decreasing from 10 to 20% of total sleep time in younger men to 5 to 7% by age 50. A 2025 bioinformatics study involving middle-aged adults aged 40 to 60 found that chronic sleep deprivation was significantly associated with cognitive decline over 3 years. A psychiatric research paper from 2025 found that low testosterone and sleep insufficiency together produce significantly higher rates of cognitive impairment than either factor alone. These are not separate problems. They are the same problem compounding on itself. The behaviors that fix this are not complicated. Same bedtime within a 30-minute window every night, same wake time every morning including weekends, Bedroom temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. A cooler environment directly supports the deeper sleep phases your body needs after 50. No screens for 60 minutes before bed. And 10 minutes of slow diaphragmatic breathing before bed activates the parasympathetic nervous system and measurably reduces nighttime cortisol, the hormone most directly working against deep sleep in men your age. Stay with me through all 6. You are halfway through. 3 habits down, the next 3 are the ones most men underestimate because they do not sound medical enough to matter. They are. The research behind habits 3, 2, and 1 is some of the strongest in current longevity science. Habit number 3, protein, distributed deliberately, not consumed in bulk. The most dangerous misconception for men over 50 is that you need less protein as you age. The 2025 Dietary Guidelines for Americans updated their recommendation for older adults to 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight per day, up from 0.8 grams. That increase exists because after 50, your muscles develop anabolic resistance, a reduced ability to respond to protein and exercise stimulation. Think of protein like the bricks your body uses to rebuild itself every night. Without enough bricks, the reconstruction is incomplete. Over months and years, the structural deficit becomes the muscle loss, the grip weakness, and the physical vulnerability most men attribute to aging rather than to something they are actively doing wrong at the dinner table. The practical approach: 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein at each of your 3 main meals. Aging muscle can only utilize approximately 35 to 40 grams per sitting for synthesis. Beyond that, the excess is oxidized for energy rather than used for repair. Distributing it across 3 meals makes every gram count. On a carnivore or animal-based diet, this is the most natural protocol available. 4 to 5 ounces of beef, sardines, eggs, or lamb per meal covers it completely. Quick reminder, comment habits below and I will send you the complete reference card for all 6 habits with the specific numbers and the daily implementation guide. Habit number 2, daily intentional social engagement. Most men hear social connection and immediately think it is too soft to be a real health recommendation. The research says otherwise. A 2024 scientific report's meta-analysis examining 104,511 patients found that social isolation significantly increased cardiovascular disease risk. A January 2025 Social Science and Medicine study confirmed the same relationship using prospective cohort data. A 2025 BMC Public Health meta-analysis confirmed social isolation and loneliness increased the risk of coronary heart disease. The mechanism that makes this more than a soft finding: meaningful social interaction triggers oxytocin release, which suppresses cortisol and reduces the inflammatory markers, specifically interleukin-6 and C-reactive protein, that directly damage cardiovascular tissue in men over 50. The neural pathways activated during genuine conversation are the same pathways that maintain memory and processing speed. When those pathways go quiet for weeks at a time, they begin to prune. After 50, neuroplasticity has already decreased, making unused pathways harder to restore. The prescription is simple but must be intentional, at least 1 meaningful human interaction every single day. A phone call counts if it is genuinely engaged, a community group, a regular lunch, a conversation that requires you to think and respond. Passive social presence, sitting in the same room while both of you watch television, does not count neurologically. Habit number 1, daily purposeful cognitive challenge. The specific practice of learning something genuinely new that forces your brain into productive discomfort every single day. After 50, your brain begins to preferentially rely on established neural pathways, extraordinarily efficient at familiar things and extraordinarily reluctant to build new ones. That preference for the familiar is also the mechanism by which cognitive reserve depletes. Cognitive reserve is your brain resilience buffer, its ability to compensate for age-related structural changes and still function at a high level. Think of it like RAM in a computer. The more reserve you have, the more damage your brain can absorb before you experience symptoms of decline. Research from the University of Edinburgh Lothian birth cohort study, following over 1,000 adults from their 70s into their late 80s, found that daily engagement in novel, challenging cognitive activities was associated with significantly slower brain atrophy rates. A new language activates 5 distinct brain regions simultaneously and has been shown to delay dementia onset by an average of 4.5 years, according to American Academy of Neurology research. A musical instrument engages fine motor control, auditory processing, memory, and emotional regulation. The key word is new. Your brain already knows how to do everything you have been doing for 30 years. The productive discomfort is where the neurological benefit lives. Here are the 6. Strategic hydration with electrolytes and timing. Resistance training twice a week with protein timing. Consistent sleep architecture with temperature and cortisol management. Protein distributed deliberately at 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram daily. Daily intentional social engagement. Daily purposeful learning of something genuinely new. Not supplements, behaviors. And the research on these 6 is the clearest evidence available for what separates men who remain sharp and independent in their 60s and 70s from those who do not. One last time, comment habits below and I will send you the complete reference card. This connects to everything we have built here. The insulin resistance video explained the metabolic mechanism underneath most of what goes wrong after 50. The vitamin D and magnesium videos explain the 2 most common deficiencies driving that decline. These 6 habits are the behavioral layer that determines whether the dietary work you are doing actually translates into the outcomes you are working toward. I am Josh, this is Created Carnivore. Real food does not have an ingredient list.